Don't be a victim to your life and your reality. Understand everything that you see, hear, feel, and know is created in your consciousness. Without having to get too blue pill, red pill, I don't need to tell you that everything that you're doing things for is for nothing. I don't need to sit here and explain to you how the world that we live in is run by a bunch of people that don't give a fuck about you or me. And we can sit here and cry about that as much as we want, or we can just step up and take responsibility for our life and what we allow our life to become from here. I think sometimes it's kind of easy to forget how easy we have it. How, even though there's a structure and rules to this game, that we are the person in control of the controller. And your life can be whatever you envision it to be if you accept it to be. Life is not a cage unless you accept it to be that. I don't want to go and work a fucking 9 to 5. I don't want to go live for my weekends. I don't want to go work in a warehouse or go be a doctor or go fucking work behind a desk all day. You know, I was never made for that. My soul has always been wild, youthful, young, adventurous. I've never been a man to step inside the box because I don't see life in the color others do. What kind of life is it to work for a piece of paper that is fake? What kind of life is it to live by a social ranking based off a credit system that was created in the 1980s to keep you broke? And before that, everything that we owned was a true asset. At this point, you own nothing. Even down to the food, our food is messed with, the water is messed with, everything is tampered with. Because there's somebody sitting somewhere pushing buttons and telling us how to live our lives. And it's easy to hear that just in the same way that we think about school and work and all this type of stuff, where it discourages you from getting up and just living with what you have. But for anybody that doesn't try, you never will have. And what a life it is to be imprisoned by a system that is only implemented by your belief in it. And at any moment, each one of us can live any reality that we choose to accept. It's funny to think that the only thing you are is what you're told. And that another man made of the same flesh, the same skin, the same blood, not even down to the DNA, but down to the species, can tell you about who you are, what you're here for, what you're meant to do, what your purpose is, what your people were like, when there's no history beyond the 250. We were not designed to live in cubicles and work in boxes and go to work every day and live for nothing but the man and the dollar. And what a shitty life that is. And this is where I'm saying, if that's the life that we accept, that is the life that will be. You give a mouse cheese, he's going to get the cheese, he's going to take it back home, he's going to wake up the next day and go look for the cheese. This is beyond conspiracy. This is, what are you living for? The only person keeping you in a cage is yourself. There's no reason to be a victim to our reality when everything that you believe, you think, and you know is only controlled by you in this moment. Look outside of what you're living now and dig deeper to find out who you really are. Think back to how your ancestors, centuries and centuries and centuries ago, had to live for you to live this docile life that you live right now. To be able to sit here and watch me on a screen telling you about how to live. It's easy to forget how hard they had it and how easy we do. And that should be even more reasoning to get up right now and to create your life. And not to be a victim to it, because you are the master of your fate. And it shouldn't be any surprise to you that tomorrow isn't promised. And that truly your last day could be today. Let me give you a story. 2.5 years ago, I decided I wanted to go and explore an abandoned building. Such a random thing, I was actually in search of a drift spot for my car. I had heard that there was this large concrete pit that I would be able to drift my car in. No worries about cops, nothing like that. Nobody around to tell me nothing. Well, lo and behold, when I get there, there was no drift pit, but there was an abandoned building that I had the curiosity to want to explore. Well, I jumped through this window, right? And when I landed inside the window, it felt like somebody punched you in the back of the leg, like you get that Charlie horse feeling. So, I went and jumped around the room, dropped my pants, and almost like a gallon of blood just on the ground. I had landed on about a 10 to 12 inch piece of glass from the window sticking up out of the ground, and it severed the arteries in my back of my leg. I had to jump back out of the window, laid on the ground. My brother was with me. He's crying, he's screaming, he doesn't know what to do. I'm telling him, be calm. I kept myself alive in that moment, because a lot of you guys know when you go into shock, that is when you die. You use all the rest of your life force because of fear, right? The point of the story is I almost died exploring an abandoned building. When that day I just woke up, I made myself breakfast, I had a nice, great day at work, made a good amount of money, and decided I wanted to go do something fun to end my evening. And guess what? That almost ended my life. I wanted to go and buy land in Tennessee and start the homestead lifestyle, so I bought a beautiful 13-acre property with a beautiful crystal clear creek. I cut my way through all the land with a machete and a chainsaw. I literally cut a tree down with a machete. I whacked it at least 200 times due to my ill preparation, right? When I moved there, what are the chances that I moved there during a world record ice storm? A tree destroys my home. I'm forced to be in my car. Temperatures are below 15. Right? No fire, no food. I lived on a 7-mile road. There was at least 50 trees down just along that road. There was no getting out. Right? I fell asleep that night after speaking to my mom, thinking I was gonna die. By the grace of God, I woke up to yellow lights flashing and the firemen coming to save me, not even me, coming to save somebody else, and I happened to be in the way. The reason I'm telling you this is life is truly not promised. There is no guarantee of tomorrow. So there's no reason to live like you don't have the choice. Right? I had 2 times where an angel watched over me and gave me the opportunity to live. Gave me the opportunity to sit here behind this camera and tell you this. Because there's more to life than getting up and working. There's more to life than trying to build your credit score. There's more to life than paying that car off or trying to have that nice house or being with that partner. The experience, the knowledge, the wisdom that comes along with the journey is the most beautiful part. It doesn't matter if you wanted to get up today and you wanted to read, you want to spend your life riding a bike, riding a skateboard, playing sports, you want to spend your life hanging with your friends, just being a mom. Whatever your decision is for your life, that is a beautiful decision that you can have. And at the end of the day, when it's your time to pass, which is the only guarantee that we have here on this earth, you should be able to say that you were happy with the life that you lived. Not just happy with the goals that you were chasing. Because I'm telling you, there's nothing more valuable than the time that you have here right